It's insane what people are willing to pay for the craziest of things. How about paying over $1,000 for some of Justin Timberlake's half-eaten French toast? Okay, I love me some French toast, but I ain't paying over $1,000 for some half-eaten breakfast by JT. I don't care who you are, paying that much for some half-eaten breakfast, I mean, that's gonna make anyone cry me a river. Or if you're still crying, go ahead and grab yourself a tissue because you might be able to make some money off of this. Scarlett Johansson sold a used tissue that had lipstick and mucus on it, and she sold it on eBay for $5,300. I mean, it's Scarlett Johansson, she's a pretty lady, but $5,300 for a snot rag? Are you kidding me? You wanna buy it? Oh! Somebody paid $615,000 for a pair of game-worn Michael Jordan shoes. That is a lot of money. I mean, they could have bought mine for a lot less than that.
Jordan fades back, swoosh, and that's the game!
Or how about the Honus Wagner 1909 card that sold for over $3.12 million? I mean, come on, people. You could have bought my Jose Canseco rated rookie for a lot less than that.
No way, Jose.
And these aren't the only things that people are willing to spend a crazy amount of money on. In fact, there are people out there that are willing to spend millions just for a website. In a recent video, I shared how somebody offered me $10 million for my personal finance blog, goodfinancialsense.com, and many of you were blown away. But there were a few that just didn't believe that that could really happen. In fact, one of the commenters named Marvin had this to say: "I doubt that you were offered that much money." Oh, Marvin, bless your heart. I understand that you just don't get it. Because it would make so much sense to go through all that trouble to publish the video, record the video, pay to have it edited. That makes so much sense. So to Marvin, I responded, totally fake news.
Fake news, fake news, fake news, fake news.
Now, to Marvin's defense, I'm sure that he doesn't get it, that he does not know about this marketplace where people are willing to spend millions just for a website. So to all the Marvins out there, I want to educate you on how it works. But this time, I don't want to use my own site as an example. I want to show you other sites that have sold for millions of dollars. So Marvin, if you're watching this, I got you.
I'm in there. Come in there. I'm in there. All right.
So in this video, I'm gonna break down some real life examples of websites that have sold for millions of dollars. But we're not talking like big mega sites. I'm talking about personal finance blogs that typically were ran by one owner. And most of these sites were built on the side while the owner was working a full-time job. Like, it is crazy what you can do online. So we're gonna find out how much these sites sold and more right now. All right, so all the websites I'm talking about right now have sold for millions of dollars. Now, obviously not every single website is going to sell for that amount, but that doesn't mean that you can't make good money or a good return flipping website. Robert Farrington from thecollegeinvestor.com, who was previously on the channel sharing how his side hustle, which was his blog, helped him pay off $44,000 of debt. Well, in addition to his main blog, he also started another website on the side, and he sold that for $11,000. To give you an idea how much websites can sell for, you can go to flippa.com and start scrolling through all the different websites that are for sale. All the different niches, all the different valuations to get a sense of how much a website is really worth. Okay, the first website that sold was one of the original blogs that I was so excited to guest write for, and that blog is GetRichSlowly.org. This blog is owned by JD Roth. Now, I don't know exactly how much JD got for his blog. It was an undisclosed amount. I do know it was over 7 figures. He has openly shared that. I am estimating that he sold between 1 to 2 million, so I'm gonna go ahead and say 1.5. Now, the interesting thing about this sale is that JD sold the site back in 2009, got 7 figures for the sell. The company that bought it had really no idea what they were doing, and you just saw the comments, the readers, and also the rankings of this site plummet over the next several years. So then JD actually bought the site back from them in 2017 for a fraction of the cost. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a scene from the movie Inception. I don't know. The second blog that sold was named Bargaineering, and this site was owned by Jim Wang. So this site sold to Bankrate for $3.5 million. So after the transaction took place, the site was still holding its own. It was still doing very well in search, but then all of a sudden, Bankrate just stopped really pouring any time, resources into it, and you could tell. So instead of trying to sell the site or trying to infuse more life back into it, they just killed it. They did a straight 301 redirect from the entire site into Bankrate.com. If you don't know what a 301 redirect is, that's okay. All you need to know is that Bankrate bought this site for $3.5 million, and then they just basically scrapped it. That's not really how you make money. That is definitely not money in the bank. The next site that sold was Consumerism and this site sold to QuinStreet. So QuinStreet also purchased Get Rich Slowly. They were the ones that JD bought the site back for. Now, Consumerism Commentary, it was not disclosed exactly how much it sold for, but this site sold in the same time frame as Get Rich Slowly and also Bargaineering. And looking at the analytics back in the day, I can only assume that the site sold for a similar amount. So we're gonna go ahead and guess $2 to $4 million. So the same thing happened with this site. After QuinStreet purchased it, all of a sudden, guess what? The ranking just started to plummet and the site tanked. But in this case, the original owner didn't come back and purchase the site. QuinStreet actually ended up selling the site to another personal finance blogger that I know. With all these personal finance blogs changing owners frequently, it just sounds like a very awkward episode of Wife Swap.
Oh my God, I would have a panic attack.
The next 3 personal finance blogs were all purchased by the same company, WebPals. WebPals has gone on a buying spree.
Get in, loser, we're going shopping.
Purchasing not only personal finance blogs, but they're also into casino sites and gaming, which I think has actually hurt them overall. That being said, one of the first acquisitions that they made was InvestorJunkie.com. This is owned by, or was owned by, Larry Ludwig. So this site sold for $5.8 million. I don't know exactly when Larry started the site, but I do know that he and I started our blogs around the same time. The second personal finance blog that WebPals purchased was MoneyUnder30.com. This site was owned by David Welliver. Now this sale was very exciting for me because it gave me a rough idea of how much my site was worth. Because at the time of the sale, both David's site and my blog were competing for very similar keywords. Only keyword that I really didn't compete for that his site did was credit cards. Nonetheless, it gave me some sort of idea, some sort of valuation that I could work from in the event that I ever wanted to sell. The third personal finance blog that WebPals purchased is doughroller.net. This site is owned, or was owned, by Rob Berger. So Rob was a former attorney that started a personal finance blog and then sold it for millions of dollars. Now, it is not disclosed how much Dough Roller sold for, but when you look at what his site was ranking for at the time, and you compared that to Investor Junkie and compared that to Money Under 30, I can only assume that he made more than David did and what Larry did on their sites. So I'm assuming that he made anywhere from 8 to 10 million on his sale. And although Rob is currently retired from being an attorney and also blogging, I think he was able to purchase one of the sites that I mentioned earlier. So Rob is still very much in the blogging game. The most recent transaction that I'm aware of a personal finance blog that sold for millions is MillennialMoney.com. This is a blog that's owned by Grant Sabatier. He's a blogger. He's also wrote a book called Financial Freedom. He's also been on the YouTube channel a few times, just sharing his story, how he went from being broke, flat broke, to being a millionaire in less than 5 years, all before the age of 30. He has an amazing story, and he shared a lot of that in his website, his blog at millennialmoney.com. He sold his site to the Motley Fool, and as far as I know, the Motley Fool hasn't purchased a lot of personal finance blogs, and this has to be their largest acquisition. Now, it is not disclosed exactly how much they paid, but once again, when we look at the rankings and all the stuff that he has on his site and what he's competing for, and you top that with this brand that he has built, Millennial Money. I mean, this is a brand that is very popular. That's why CNBC has this whole special on Millennial Money. Graham Stephan, popular YouTuber, has a lot of content regarding this. So it's not just what the site's ranking for, but also the brand. He's got the book. I mean, he has it all. So I am estimating that he sold his blog somewhere between $8 to $10 million. And I don't care how you slice or dice it, $8 to $10 million is a lot of money. But here's what makes that number even more outstanding. Grant started the blog back in 2015, just 5 years ago. I mean, you talk about a return on your money and time. That is what I would call a good ROI.